awesome in the prequel.
Thank you.
You really stepped up and became the star of the show very, very quickly.
That's nice of you to say. Thank you.
So how does your character...
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Gannicus.
Which one?
We've seen
Is that there?
Gannicus.
Thank
now,
you.
what else is he going to do?
He's reintroduced back into the season at some point. We're going to find a man who's changed a lot, but also is carrying some old wounds from the past that he has to deal with, and he's really, he's a man who's a master of his own destiny. And after he won the freedom, I mean that's kind of allowed him to go and experience more of the world, and we're going to see a more evolved man, I guess. But yeah, still the Gannicus that we, parts of the Gannicus that we've come to know and love, and also the fighting, the skilled fighter, and yeah, but essentially really a man who's grown.
Can you talk about the physical training that's involved in doing this kind of role?
Yeah, and I've talked a lot about that in the past. It's a big physical. There's a lot of physical kind of effort involved in terms of training before and after work, and just the stunts and all that kind of things that we do. But yeah.
What was the challenge between shooting the show in a stable location like the Ludus versus the slaves on the run?
Well, it's a different show. It's a different show.
So what was the challenge for you?
It's evolved. The show has evolved from that class structure system in the Ludus to it's a road story now. It's a traveling kind of show, and they're on the road, they're on the run, and same. My character is obviously a free man, so different, but for my character, but yeah, for that Spartacus team, it's a different kind of. It's evolved into something else, and it will keep evolving because the story, the history of Spartacus and his band has to move in a certain way, and we have to kind of follow that structure. So yeah, it's not the Ludus arena fighting stuff.
And what about the big guilt hanging over your character about you basically betrayed your best friend? Not even basically, absolutely betrayed your best friend. So how does that kind of reflect on the growth of your character?
Yeah, he was forced. Yeah, forced.
Well, that's true. The first time, true.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, not the second time.
Yeah, there was only one time.
Deny all knowledge.
Yeah, look, it's a complex relationship, but it's kind of the saving grace of the character, I think, in terms of him having a real affinity with someone. But yeah, he's very much that master of his own destiny kind of guy, the journeyman with the bag on his back, and no one can tell him where to go or what to do. He's his own man, and because he's free, he's a free man. He's not a slave anymore. We really get to explore that a lot more. So, yeah.
Let me ask you, this show has a lot of blood and guts and sex and violence. And, obviously that's part of our culture in filmmaking, right?
Well, no, not necessarily.
I think
it's more of a. It's definitely more of a. I don't think it's part of the culture of filmmaking. I think it's probably more of an American kind of cultural construct.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
Absolutely.
Say. Yeah.
Hold on.
I don't.
Plug. We have the juice over here.
Yeah.
Good deal, Nicole. So you basically, because I want to understand that, I am a journalist, but I'm also a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And, it's very challenging for me as a woman to always include that element in my films.
Right.
So as an actor, I'm just, and especially since you're an actor that's not from the United States, how do you see that? Is that like more of a burden as opposed to doing other sorts of things around the world, in the UK or in Australia, or, you're saying it's just basically indigenous to the US? That's what our culture really is looking for. Is that what you're saying?
Well, America has a. No, I'm not saying that. America has I mean, they have a love for horror films. Okay? It's something that we really don't have in our culture, and although there's certain parts of I'm sure Australian culture that really enjoy horror films, it's not as that kind of stuff isn't as I guess widely.
It's not as mainstream.
Yeah, it's not as mainstream like in places like Australia. I mean, yeah, so it's very much in there's a lot of horror films and stuff coming to Comic-Con and that type of thing. But I guess in terms of that is it's not. I mean, it's not something that we kind of. Although saying that, we just did Underbelly in Australia recently, which was quite violent.
Right.
Maybe it's the way society is kind of allowing itself to go in terms of what's being shown on screen, and I think it's important to keep a moderator involved in terms of at what ages you're allowed to watch certain content.
Right.
I think they're really important.
But how does that play? Just the last part of the question is, if you don't mind, how does that play into you, like relating to the other characters? You're engaging in this sort of thing that you're not normally used to doing. All this.
I mean, it's just we're actors. We're playing.
So that's it.
So you have swords and you're pretending to cut some. You're not really cutting them.
No, of course not.
And that's kind of the whole fabrication of what filmmaking is. It's like in our minds we think it's real, but only for that moment on screen. And I mean, it's important that there is that kind of separation between what's on screen and reality.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
What's been the most challenging fight in the series?
The end fight in episode 6, where there's 20 people fighting and Gannicus is the last man standing. That took about 8 days or 10 days or something to film. It was a big fight, but they just got an Emmy nomination for it, so it paid off. Paid off.
When you say dangerous, it's all doing that. Maybe it's very, it must be choreographed.
Yeah, it's choreographed.
You'll get injured into it.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff?
I had a bad back injury in episode 5 and 6 last year, and it's just due to overwork and stuff, I think, and then you got to keep working with an injury, and then it exacerbates, and then everything's just going to.
So by the end of the shoot, you're like, I'm getting in bed and staying.
Yeah, exactly. Do not wake me.
Is there anything that you could hint about the new season? Something.
Spoilers.
Something that you're really excited about? Just give us a tidbit.
I'm excited about kind of where Gannicus fits into the story this season, and kind of who he is, and how he relates to the other characters within the story. I mean, that relationship with Onomaus is going to definitely be explored, and
But your character doesn't even know Spartacus.
no, he doesn't know. He has no idea who the man is, apart from stories that he would have heard kind of around. But no, he's never met the guy before. So that's going to be an interesting relationship to explore as well. I mean, you've got two kind of strong men meeting for the first time with very different views. Yeah. So there's obviously going to be drama there.
You must have seen the Stanley Kubrick Spartacus film.
Yeah.
Do you think he would enjoy watching this TV show?
Well, I mean, I don't know Stanley's
It's a bit
taste.
eyes wide shut.
I mean, I don't know Stanley's taste in films, but he made a very good film. A very good film with some wonderful actors. I still remember the contrasting grain of the film that they used, and how kind of beautifully it was shot. Yeah, it really was.
What have you put of yourself into the character? Do you have much in common with him?
There's always parts of yourself in characters that you play, but essentially you are playing a character. And I said a lot last season that I modelled my character on Anthony Mundine, the Australian Aboriginal boxer, and that man who has a lot of confidence, but really what we want to understand is what is driving him, what's beneath him, and we got to explore and unpick a bit of that in Gods of the Arena, and we're going to explore and understand it a bit more in this season.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Since Gannicus has been free for a while, do you think he'll be reluctant to pick up the sword again, or do you think he was fighting?
He's always good with swords.
Do you think he's been fight while he's been out there exploring, or do you think he's been trying to avoid that kind of violence and it's been forced on his character so much?
I do think he's definitely stepped away from the violence. Yeah. So it will be,
He has to go through that transition again.
possibly. I guess you'll get to see. Yeah.